This is Neville Bletch here. Thanks for downloading Wine Behind the Label. I'd like to be able to go through a few things with you to show you how best to use this guide. The major part of this guide is split into regional or country sections. Within each one, you will find an introduction, including, where possible, vintage information. This is followed by a list of the producers by region or appellation that have been profiled within the A to Z that makes up the bulk of the section. At the end of the A to Z of producers, other quality wines tasted from the region are included in other wines of note. Let's take Portugal, for example. You have the details about the region, and you have the A to Z of producers. You also have vintage information and vintage charts. The A to Z of producers, going down and down this way, all the way down through the various entries until you get to, at the end of the section, we're looking at Portugal as an example. You will get to the other wines of note which haven't got a full entry, which will start at the end of the section. And then you'll have our work in progress, lots of other wines of note here, work in progress and author's choices. Work in progress will include often new estates or producers that we will be assessing for the next edition. And at the very end of each section under author's choice, we've added lists of wines that are a personal selection, but are also often themed by a shared style or grape variety, and so should aid navigation. For individual A to Z entries, and we'll show you the sample entry, you can take, for instance, going back up again, an individual entry. You will have sometimes in the entry the use of capitals, which will denote the existence of a cross-reference entry that can be found using the search function. There are various aids to readers to move around the guide. Wine Behind the Label is fully paginated and can be navigated from the contents page. So if I click on Austria, you will get to Austria. Navigation is by continent, country and wine region. Each regional section has direct links to its background, including trends and appellation, as well as a link to lists of wine producers profiled by appellation and vintage detail. The core of the guide are the wine producer profiles, and these can be navigated from an A to Z of bookmarks in the navigation tree. At most, you'll just have to scroll between 10 or 12 pages before you get to the actual entries to find what you're looking for. There are also links to the other wines of note in a region, as well as the author's choice. There is, of course, the search function as well. So if I write in the search function, let's say Joseph Phelps, you will find, after a short while, a little thing you can click on. Again, talking about Joseph Phelps as a cross-reference. Then when you want to come up to the actual entry of Joseph Phelps, you can come up to it here from a search function. There are also vintage charts, and in those sections where vintages have the greatest significance, vintage charts are also provided, as is text in individual years, for some of the better known appellations, including those from California. Now, specific style of wines are given an overall vintage rating between 1 and 5 stars for individual years. In some instances, it's not possible to provide a balanced judgment on the vintage until nearer the wine's release, with Brunello di Montalcino, for example. These have been designated NYR, not yet rated. So if we perhaps go to search to Brunello, and here we have Tuscany vintages. You'll see there are write-ups on the various vintages and also a vintage assessment. And as I said before, where in some instances it's not possible to provide a balanced judgment on the vintage until nearer the wine's release. These have been designated NYR, not yet rated. When to drink the wines of a given vintage is largely subjective, personal judgment, and can depend as much on mood or context. But the letter A to D following the ratings gives a general indication of their likely development. So A is wines to anticipate, not ready for drinking. B, wines that can be broached, but with much more to give. C, wines to consume, at or near their best. And D, wines likely to be in decline, past their best. Now the order of the A to Z entries is based on the name they are most commonly referred to, and they appear as they are written, but with priority to surnames. Domain is ignored, but Chateau, Castello, Quinta, etc. are respected, as is the definite article when implicitly part of the name, e.g. Il Poggione will appear under I, and there's Il Poggione. The only exception to these principles is in Bordeaux, with the name of the chateau or estate take precedence. Where a profile is precedented by a 2-arrow symbol, this indicates a new profile. Well, there it is. We've listed in most entries telephone and fax numbers for those readers who wish to visit producers. It's always advisable to call ahead, because in many cases appointments need to be booked. It's also worth noting that many small producers are not open to visitors. Ownership is also given throughout, and wherever this appears in bold, it refers to a corporate owner rather than an individual or individuals who have a number of profiles that may be cross-referenced throughout the guide. For example, LVMH, LVMH Moët Hennessy, and Louis Vuitton SA are owners of a number of prestige wine brands, including Moët Chandon, Veuve Clicquot, Krug, etc. Let's have a look at Krug. And there you see LVMH is shown in bold. Ratings. Well, we rate wines. 1 star is a wine of good quality, not just sound, but of good fruit and with some character. 2 stars, Find a 2-star wine here, yes. A wine with more depth, interest and concentration, usually with some aging potential. 3 stars. Very good, even fine wine. In the case of many reds, repaying lengthy cellaring. 4 stars. Let's find a 4-star wine here. Lanson Noble Cuvée Vintage. A wine of very high quality, among the very best, even in the top Appellationnel region. 5 stars. Have a look at Lamondier Bernier's Extra Brut. Outstanding quality, potentially a classic. And super 5 stars. Let's have a look at the Krug, Clos de Menil and Vintage. Restricted to the true classics, out and out world class. Now you'll see some of these have a white star added, and white stars are used to show a superior wine at a given rating. We've rated as many of the producer's wines as possible, but in some instances the wines are too new or too scarce to have yet received a rating. Such wines are covered in the text only. Also, it's not in the style of this guide to provide tasting notes for individual vintages, along with their scores. However, we'll try and provide some information on our website over the coming year, and we intend to give readers the opportunity to receive the scores for currently available vintages by electronic means. Given that scores are vintage specific, they sometimes exceed or fall short of the rating that's based on on repeated tastings. Prices. Code is provided, which represents an estimated retail price bracket, and it's based on the standard 75 centilitre bottle size. Price codes for those wines produced only in 1.5 litre magnums, or 50 centilitre half litre, or 37.5 centilitre half bottle formats have been given 75 centilitre equivalents. A half bottle costing £8.95 or $16, for instance, will have a price code of D. So basically, price code A is for, and there are not too many of those, certainly not in Champagne. Let's see if we can find something with price code A, South Africa, for example. Well, not too many of those, but we do have a B. A would be less than £8 a bottle, that's $12. B would be £8 to £12 a bottle, $12 to $18. C would be £12 to £18 a bottle, $18 to $27. D, find a D somewhere, D here, would be £18 to £25 a bottle, that's $27 to $37. E, 25 to 35 pounds a bottle, $37 to $52. F, 35 to 60. Let's see if we can find some of those. Birkenhout-Sklouf, Cabernet Sauvignon Estate Franschhoek, between 35 and 60 pounds a bottle, that's $52 to $90. G, which would be 60 to 100 pounds, that's 90 to 150. Maybe we'll come back to Champagne there, see if we can find some more of those. Lots of G's here, 60 to 100 pounds a bottle, $90 to $150, and H, of course, would be over 100 pounds or more than $150. So let's take Chateau Léoville Barton. There's the producer name. the wine region or appellation, the website. Click on the website and you will get to the Leoville Barton webpage. Owner's name and address, telephone, fax, cross-reference with other places. Here's the rating, quality rating indicator, and this is an individually researched entry. So there you are. It's quite easy to use. Its navigation is pretty easy. You can click on any of these names or contents and you can get very quickly to where you want to be. So if, for instance, you're in a restaurant and you have found a wine from Casa Marin on the list, you can quickly go to Casa Marin, and if you find the Pinot Noir Lo Abarca Hills Sant Antonio, 4 stars E, that's going to indicate pretty good value for money, because starting with B, if you have a B price and it has 2 stars, a C price with 3 stars, a D price with 4 stars, an E price with 5 stars, or an F price with super 5 stars, these are great value for money wine. So that hasn't quite made it. Oh, look at this though. The Riesling Miramar Vineyard Sant Antonio, 4 stars C. Now 12 to 18 pounds retail, 4 stars is a terrific wine, and that obviously is a great bargain, as are these other whites. Perhaps the whites more than the reds. The reds perhaps a little more pricey, but the whites from Casa Marin certainly are great value. And this is a way that you can find out by going through Wine Behind the Label, seeking out wines of great value.